I'm Mari-Lyn. Welcome to More Talk of Recovery. Um, Thank you for joining me, whether you've been here before or you are new. Uh, my sobriety date is February 6, 2020. I am just over 13 years sober. Alcohol was my addiction, and throughout my spiritual journey, I just keep getting called to share about my experiences, my story, my healing, and my observations from the alcoholic's point of view around other, around all kinds of scenarios that we humans come up against in life. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about how sobriety and, more importantly, healing can affect our relationships, especially the relationship with the people that we live with, our spouses, our significant others, whether it's a friend that you live with. The dynamic of stopping an addiction, of stopping a behavior that was impacting our lives in a negative way. That's why we stop, right? That's why we become sober, become clean, become abstinent, even. Addiction, man, it comes in many different ways. Drugs, alcohol, gambling, sex, Facebook, games on our phone, gossip, the way we talk to people, the way we talk about people. The behaviors that we can become addicted to are really endless. And while the alcohol and drugs are absolutely life-threatening, whereas gossip isn't, being a victim isn't necessarily life-threatening, but they're still damaging. They're still we participate in those behaviors because we're trying to fill a hole that's within us, and we're trying to fill it from all out here, when really we need to fill it from the inside. We need to fill it by healing and filling our soul and finding that self-love. What I want to talk about today is how, when we end the behaviors of an addiction, of how that can affect our relationships. Our relationships really across the board, but really importantly, how it can affect our closest relationships. Say someone that we live with, a spouse, a significant other, even a friend. When we stop participating in the behavior that we are addicted to, we are changing the way we act and think, the way we maneuver through life, and it's uncomfortable. And we're going to change the way we view things. And that change will happen, or that change will continue to evolve as we maneuver through the early stages of our sobriety, of our abstinence. As we start to change, we are going to see people differently. Sometimes, and I'm going to be honest here, and this doesn't sound really plausible, but sometimes the way we see things, it's worse. We're in pain as we're trying to maneuver through life without our crutch, and we can become more cynical. We can become more angry as we're trying to find our footing. Where do I land? How do I discover who I am without this crutch? And I know for me, trying to maneuver through who I was without alcohol, oof, boy, that was rough. And I slept a lot. I've said that many times before. Excuse me, sleep was my friend in early sobriety. My drinking started usually about dinner time. I would always have a drink of some type while I was cooking. And then it just went on from there until I was, blackout, raging drunk. And in my early sobriety, I can remember just hold on till dinner. As soon as you eat dinner, you can go to bed, you can go to sleep. And I am so grateful that sleep was my friend. And I did sleep a lot. As I maneuvered through all of that early footing, I realized that hole was so painful, and I had to figure out how to fill it. And what I did, I went to a therapist, a counselor. She was a drug and alcohol counselor. And oh man, I adored her. I no longer see her. I don't need to see her anymore, but I adored her. And she actually she actually proposed a bit of a challenge for me to go to a 12-step meeting. And I finally agreed after many back and forth discussions. I agreed. And so that was my gift to myself on my 48th birthday. I went to my first meeting, and man, I wanted to run. I wanted to run so many times. What I learned about myself was I had no self-esteem. I had none. My drinking actually gave me a false sense of self, a very false sense of self. And as I look back over my decades of drinking, I can see how the falsehood evolved, and how my fantastic thinking evolved with it. So, getting a little off topic because I wanted to talk about relationships. When I realized my complete lack of self-esteem, it really had me wondering, why was I married? How could this man see any use in having a partner like me that was so useless? And it took a lot of years to maneuver through that. I am very lucky in that my husband was very supportive, and I'm going to throw him under the bus a little bit. He is not overly, he's not an overly emotional man. He's not an emotional man at all. But he supported me in those early years, I mean, he's always supported me, but in my early years of sobriety, he didn't judge me. He encouraged me to keep going. And as I started learning more about myself, that gave him an opportunity to learn more about himself and to learn together. We had to learn different ways to communicate and to resolve differences. Also very lucky in that he and I were not fighters. We never had fights. Disagreements, yes. Never even heated arguments, though, because before it got to that point, we both separated. Our individual wounding kept us from going there, which for us was a beautiful thing that neither one of us wanted to perpetuate fighting. So, we just didn't. But over the years, through the different layers of healing that I've done, sometimes it's a challenge because our partners, our friends who are not addicted to anything, they're not addicted to a substance or a behavior. Okay, that's not true. Everybody's addicted to something, some kind of behavior. I put my life on that everybody's addicted to some kind of behavior in some way. But what I'm talking about right now is the addiction to where it's extremely detrimental, to where stopping is almost saving your life. In my case, was saving your life, my life. Drugs and alcohol absolutely will kill you if you allow it to. Anyways, in my case, my husband's not an alcoholic. He's pretty much stopped drinking. He doesn't drink at home. He doesn't even go out and drink. But he's not alcoholic. So there was nothing for him, no reason to start healing. He didn't have to go looking how to fill the hole that he had inside, because that was my issue, right? So I'm healing, I'm changing, and he's not. And there's a period of time that happens with couples to where it's like, this is uncomfortable. This isn't working. So what do? Do I stop growing? Do I stop healing? Do I just digress back into who I was? No, absolutely not an option, not a good option anyway. What happened, and it's always a blessing when this happens, is my husband started to catch up to me. I was changing and evolving, and he wasn't. And then all of a sudden, he started to. And as he started to, what that did was that, like, okay, I got to do more. And then we come to that lull again. And then he catches up. And then I got to go, ah! And it's a really kind of funny, weird cycle that happens. But as we, the addict, begin to heal our wounding and we begin to find that inner peace and we begin to experience self-love and confidence, our partners do too. And if they don't, it's a sad thing. And sometimes that can end the relationship. And sometimes that's what has to happen. Sometimes relationships end. Spirit will remove a person from your life so you can be exposed to more experiences, to more different people. Maybe the person that leaves your life or was moved from your life, maybe they need a different experience to be able to find that inner peace and start finding self-love. Because if they already have it, if they already have that inner peace and that self-love, and you are growing and evolving to match them, that's beautiful. There isn't that energetic conflict of being on different vibrational platforms. But it is work. It is difficult sometimes. But we are worth the effort. We are absolutely, without question, worth the effort of, number one, sobriety, getting clean and sober, abstaining from whatever the addiction is, whether it is alcohol or drugs or victimhood or gossip. I don't care what the addiction is. You are worth getting out of it. And then you're worth the effort of healing. And healing, man, it can take on so many different forms. There's so many different ways to heal and avenues. And not every wounding will take the same path to heal. But when it comes to our relationships, if we are raising our vibration to meet our partner, that's beautiful. If we are raising our vibration and then our partner comes up behind us, that's also beautiful. Sometimes our vibration starts to rise and our partner doesn't, or they drop lower. That is their journey. We can't fix it. What is it? There is a support group for addicts. They didn't cause it, they didn't create it, they can't cure it. Something like that. It's the same in every situation. Every person is responsible for their own journey. So if you are in a relationship and somebody out there listening to this, there's more than one of you that is in a relationship where you are healing, you are evolving and growing, and your vibration is rising and your partner isn't. And in fact, they are lowering in their own vibration. And sometimes spirit moves people, and sometimes the relationship has to end because you are both worth the effort of finding that self-love. And if that means separation and going in different directions, then that's okay. That's what has to happen. It doesn't have to always happen that way. But for some people, sobriety and healing, it will end some relationships, and it's not your fault. It's not your fault for getting sober and the other person couldn't handle it. That's their journey. And that's just sometimes the way that it works. So whoever is in that scenario, if you are beating yourself up, if you are doubting yourself, please stop. Please know that you are worth being out of your addiction, and you are worth finding that self-peace, that self-love, and that self-confidence? Absolutely. And the person that has left your life or is leaving your life, wish them the best and hope that they can at some point find their own journey of self-acceptance and self-love, because it's not your job to do it for them. And some people aren't meant to do it with us. I'm very grateful that my husband was and is continually, as I grow and evolve, he eventually he catches up, starts to catch up, however it is. I don't know. So I guess that was my main focus with coming on to talk today, was how, as we grow and we heal, how it can affect our relationships. And it can be a struggle, but it is a journey, and finding new ways to maneuver through life with a partner is really a lot of fun. I'm going to talk now about, okay, you've done all this healing. Both of you and your partner, you've done healing, and you're in a whole new, you're in a whole new atmosphere in your lives, okay? And one of you gets triggered by wounding. Now, whether there's been healing around this wounding or not doesn't matter, because we can still get triggered. And an old response comes up. And with one old response, it's met with another old response. And when that happens, it can feel like the end of the earth. It can feel like, oh my God, all this hard work has been for nothing, because here we are right back in this old dance. And I hate it, and it makes me so angry. It's okay. The old behavior is coming up so it can be let go of, so there can be more healing happen if necessary. It has to come up so it can move away. So if you are finding yourself, even after, you're in a new place, you're in a whole new territory with your partner, but something keeps happening and old behaviors coming in, and you're doing an old dance that you hate, please look in. Don't look at the other person. Look in and find what needs to be let go of, what needs to be healed, and then be vulnerable and bring it up with your partner. Because if they've already matched you, if they've gone through the journey of, that inner work, and they're looking, they're working, and they're raising their vibration, and they're meeting you, communication is absolutely the best thing that we can do for ourselves and for our relationships. So you find yourself in this old behavior, and you're like, oh my gosh, here we go again. Stop. Look in. Okay, why am I triggered? Why am I acting like I would have 20 years ago? Well, it's because he did this. He's acting like it was 20 years ago. Talk. I have found, I don't want to give advice here, but I think I'm going to. I have found when I get vulnerable and I talk about my feelings and how I heard something, you said something, but I heard this. I know that's not what you said, but that's what I heard. And I'm hurting. And can you tell me how you're feeling? Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, right? I think everybody will agree. Men and women think and process differently. And that's the way it is, right? I think that's the way it's supposed to be. And yes, I'm speaking generally here. Sometimes it will be an hour or a day before I get a response. And I have learned to give my husband that space to be able to process and to be able to be as vulnerable as he can be. So in those very stressful times of, I'm going to say, relapse into relationship behavior that's not healthy, if we can remember that it's come up so we can look at it and so we can heal and we can let it go, it helps us maneuver through it. That's the same for any healing. That's the same for cravings. When a craving hits us, something's triggering that craving. Something has aggravated that hole, even if we have filled the hole. And I am going to say, for myself, the amount of healing that I have done, the amount of work that I have done, the spiritual connection that I have, that I am active in, I can't say that I am healed, because we're never fully healed in this human life, but I'm pretty full. And yet, those wounds can still be tender. Some of the wounds, when we heal them, they're like gone. It's like you can't even remember it. But there are some that remain tender. And they remain tender to keep us on our toes. They remain tender to keep us alert and wanting to continue to grow and to expand. But when I have a craving, and I still get them every once in a while, they're not the same as they were in early sobriety, but I still get them. I think my last craving was within the last month. And it's like, whoa, what is going on? Well, some fear had come up. I don't really even remember right now what it was that had triggered me with the craving. But the wounding can be tender. And when there's a craving, something's been triggered, and it's something to look at. There's another layer to heal. There's more energetically to release. And it is crazy, let me tell you, how much energetic crap we can hold in our bodies. It's It's pretty amazing of how much we can hold on to energetically, because it can fill everywhere. It can go into our bones and our tissues and our muscles, muscle memory. In fact, sitting here talking about triggers and cravings, it wasn't until I started talking about cravings, the muscle in my neck is pulsing, because there's real fear for me around cravings. There's real fear that if I have a craving, I might give into it. Now, I know that's not true. I know for me, I'm not going to drink. However, never say never, because as soon as I become complacent, maybe I would. My last podcast was telling a story of where my brain was telling me, you can have a shot. You can have a celebratory shot with your friends. You'd be fine. You could do it. You'd be fine. You can do it. No, I can't. And whew, that really has triggered that muscle. So proving my point that we hold energetic shit in our bodies. Sorry, I just came so ungrounded. Kind of forgot even what I was saying, kind of got wrapped up in that, in the craving, in this crazy muscle in my neck. When we have cravings and triggers, and the muscle is triggered right now. So what's happening? Something is happening within me, and it's fear. It's real life fear that I could at some point lose all perspective and relapse. And my main guide cowboy is standing right here by me, and he's just shaking his head and telling me, you're fine. You're fine. You can talk about cravings. You can relay the information without fear of that overtaking you. And that's exactly what was happening. Talking about cravings, I went into fear that just talking about it would make it happen. And that's not true. It's just not. I have done so much healing that there's no need for me to relapse anymore. There's no need at all. And I am so grateful for that. Through the counseling, through the meetings, through the hard work, and then after all of that, the in-depth healing that I have done over the past, I'm going to say 5 years. It's been longer than that, but the really deep stuff has been over the past 5 years. And a lot of it was during COVID even. I swear in a year's time, I did, probably both Pam and I did 5 years worth of healing in such a short amount of time, because we were shut down, right? We had very limited contact with other people, so we healed. And the reason that we were able, no, not able, the reason we did all that healing in such a short amount of time was because we have a huge message to share. Part of my message to share is there is so much more to sobriety than just not drinking. There's so much more to being clean than just not using drugs. There's so much more to life than just abstinence, and it involves healing. It really does. Healing our wounding, healing our perspectives, healing our adopted thinking, our acquired thinking, those thoughts about ourselves that we learned from other people and adopted them as our own. And there's so much more life after we've gone through all of that healing. So, I started this off and I wanted to talk about our relationships. But what I haven't talked about is the relationship with ourself. The relationship with ourself, holy smokes, people. I never had a relationship with myself. Today I do. Today I have a relationship with all of the different parts of myself. I have a relationship with my physical body. Granted, it's not perfect, but it's developing. And I'm learning how to talk to my physical body and how to listen to my physical body. That is a real blessing in and of itself, to have a relationship with your physical body and to be able to learn what it needs and when it needs it, and to be able to give it what it needs, instead of tuning it out and going for the comfort food, going for the comfort numbing, going for that substitute to what our addiction was. Because my addiction was alcohol, and for a while, my substitute was sugar. Spice drops, really. Until one day I ate so many spice drops, I went into a rage, and it was like, oh, that was too close to being in a drunken rage. I haven't had spice drops since. I won't. There's no need now. But after spice drops, oh my gosh, TV. Even now, I can get into addictive behavior with an old TV show and binge watch. And I have gotten myself out of a recent cycle of that. And my TV hasn't even been on today, and I have no desire to turn it on. It's pretty amazing when I can find myself breaking a cycle of unhealth. And that's because I have a relationship with myself. I have a relationship with my physical body. I have a relationship with my higher self. I have a relationship with my emotional body. We have so many different parts to ourselves that, it's kind of crazy. I don't know if I've talked about my gingerbread man on my recovery podcast, but during a healing that I had with Pam, all of my pieces and parts were separated, and I was shown that in a gingerbread man, right, side view, and I saw all the slices, and I don't know how many there were, countless. I have no idea. But each and every part of us is important. And the more relationship that we can develop with ourselves and all of the different parts, the healthier we become. And That's what sobriety and healing has brought for me. It's taken me deeper than anything ever could. And to be in the relationship that I am with myself today is something that I never even thought possible. The relationship that I am in life today with different people in my life is, if I think about it, it's pretty spectacular. The relationship I have with my partner, with Pam, my business partner, with my TCS partner, what you see on camera, the interactions with that, that's all real. It's real and it's amazing. I really had given up hope that I could have a friendship like that. And it's pretty amazing. So the relationships and how they're affected through sobriety, through the ending of addiction, and the subsequent healing that we do afterwards, it is so worth the effort. It is so worth the roller coaster, because anything that's worthwhile, it's difficult. And difficult. You can do hard things. You know that, because whether you have gotten sober from whatever your addiction is, you've been through hard things. If you are listening to this and you're thinking, do I have an addiction? Do I need to get sober? I can tell you right now, if the thought's crossing your mind, yes. Yes, you do. Alcoholics and addicts they don't wonder if they are, if they aren't. Someone who is not addicted does not have the thought, am I addicted to this? No. So if you're in that place, you're doing hard things. You've been there, you've done them, and you're ready to do more hard things. You're ready to take the next step. We've all done hard things, and we are all capable of doing harder things. Because when we do hard things, every time, they're not so hard. And then pretty soon we realize the fear of doing that hard thing was worse than actually doing it. And that comes a little bit easier and a little bit bigger every time we heal something. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for tuning in. I hope something in here was thought-provoking, and I appreciate everyone so much for giving me the opportunity to share my triggers. Being able to talk through that muscle spasm from talking about cravings, because it's gone. Thank you to Cowboy, my main guide, for walking me through that. And thank you to everybody for walking through it with me. You are capable of doing hard things, and you are so worth the effort of healing, of growing in relationship with yourself, with the people around you in your life. If you want to check out myself, Pam, TCS, everydaypsychics.com. We have a contact us form in there. If you have questions about sobriety, please reach out, and I would love to hear from you. I know that I'm going to be offering more with sobriety and with healing, how that all meshes together. I still don't know the specifics of it. Part of me, I'm going to say this out loud, I am blocking something that's keeping it from coming, and it's fear, and I apologize, but it's there. I have it, and I am working through letting go of that fear so I can hear what Spirit has for me to offer you. Anyway, thank you again for tuning in, for joining me, and take care. Till next time. Bye.